Welcome to this presentation. Before we begin, I would like to introduce my YouTube channel, Nongbsap, where you can access a wide range of educational resources.
The channel is organized into playlists covering pedagogy, ICT, training reports, internship materials, and many other resources designed to improve classroom practices and support the professional development of both teachers and learners.
I warmly invite you to subscribe and explore the content to enrich your academic and professional journey. Let's start.
Welcome to this video report and presentation on a study of the capacity development needs of elementary school teachers of West Jaintia Hills to ensure continuous professional development. By Srimati D. Shadap. A need-based study initiated by the Pre-Service Teacher Education (PSTE) branch of DIET Thadlaskein. This important research was made possible through the support of the Government of India under the centrally sponsored schemes of Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan for teacher education. Before we start, make sure to share, like, and subscribe and give your valuable positive comments.
Introduction. The District Institute of Education and Training, or DIET, plays a vital role in shaping quality education in India. Since its inception in the year 2000, DIET Thadlaskein has conducted numerous training programs and studies aimed at improving school performance and teacher effectiveness. This study focuses on understanding the classroom practices and capacity development needs of elementary school teachers to ensure their continuous professional development. Need and justification of the study. At the core of this study lies one fundamental belief. To improve the quality of education, we must first strengthen the teachers. With the changing demands of the 21st century learning, teachers must evolve professionally and personally to meet the growing needs of learners. This study investigates what teachers need most in their daily classroom practices and how short-term trainings can help them grow. Objectives of the study. The study has 3 objectives. 1. To identify the prevailing classroom practices of elementary teachers in the district. 2. To identify the specific capacity development needs of elementary teachers in their daily classroom transaction. 3. To provide meaningful suggestions for improving teachers' preparation and continuous professional development. Methodology of the study. This chapter delves into the methods and procedures adopted to carry out the research effectively. The study is descriptive in nature, aimed at identifying the capacity development needs that elementary teachers most require in their daily classroom transactions. The methodology outlines the population, sample selection, tools, and data collection procedures. Research design of the study. The research design, also called a conceptual framework, is the foundation of any study. Here, a stratified random sampling technique was used. A total of 91 lower and 62 upper primary schools were selected. From these, 177 lower and 135 upper primary teachers participated by responding to detailed questionnaires. 2 distinct sets of questionnaires were designed, one for teachers to understand their needs and another for head teachers for their insights and suggestions. Population of the study. The population included all lower and upper primary schools under different managements, government, SSA and deficit, within West Jaintia Hills District. Sample of the study. The samples were carefully selected from Jawai Urban, Thadlaskein, Laskein, and Amlaram blocks, tools used in the study. The main tool used in the study was a structured questionnaire designed for teachers and focusing on teachers' perception, classroom transaction, classroom organization, classroom assessment, and capacity development needs of in-service teachers. These tools were designed to yield both quantitative and qualitative insights. Statistical techniques used in the study. In the study, statistical tools such as the mean to determine the average response or central tendency and the standard deviation to understand the variability or spread in the responses were used. The results were presented in tables and graphs to highlight priority areas for teacher training and development. A 5-point Likert scale, incorporating both unipolar and bipolar formats, was employed to capture nuanced responses, allowing teachers to express levels of agreement or importance. The Cronbach's alpha coefficient was used to test the reliability of the questionnaire, yielding a strong score of 0.89, indicating good internal consistency. Data collection procedure. Field investigators from DIET Thadlaskein, along with the main investigator, visited the selected schools. They explained the purpose of the study and distributed questionnaires, and conducted spot classroom observations. Delimitations of the study. This study was strictly academic and focused only on in-service elementary teachers in government, SSA, and deficit management schools. Data analysis and interpretation. All responses, collected through structured questionnaires, were then analysed using statistical tools such as the mean and the standard deviation. The results were presented in tables and graphs to identify priority areas for teachers, trainings and development. Demographic profile of lower and upper primary teachers.
In this section, the investigator describes the socio-demographic characteristics derived from the quantitative data.
This graph shows the gender distribution of lower and upper primary teachers. This graph shows the teaching experience of lower and upper primary teachers, categorized as less than 10 years and more than 10 years. This graph illustrates the academic qualifications of lower and upper primary teachers. This graph presents the professional qualifications of lower and upper primary teachers. This graph depicts the management of school for lower and upper primary teachers. This graph displays the short-term training programs attended by lower and upper primary teachers.
In this study, the investigator aims to understand the classroom practices commonly performed by teachers during their daily teaching sessions. Let us begin by identifying the 4 key areas of classroom practices.
1. Teachers' perception. Here, the investigator explores how teachers perceive their roles in the classroom. For example, do they view themselves as the sole source of knowledge, indicating a teacher-centered classroom? Or do they believe student involvement and participation is essential for learning, a more student-centered approach? 2. Classroom transaction. This section focuses on how teachers manage their teaching learning processes. Do they adjust their methods to meet the diverse needs of students? Or do they primarily rely on traditional tools like chalk, blackboard, and textbooks? 3. Classroom organization. Here, the investigator wants to understand how the classroom is structured. Are students encouraged to share, express freely, and participate actively? Do teachers promote individual, group, and hands-on activities both inside and outside the classroom? 4. Classroom assessment. This area examines how teachers assess learning. Do they give regular assignments to track progress? Do they provide formative feedback and identify learning barriers in a meaningful way? And so on. Based on the understanding of classroom practices, investigator explores the capacity-building needs of in-service teachers through 19 key areas. These include integrating teaching skills and methods with core subjects, developing and using teaching aids and digital tools, creating lesson plans aligned with learning outcomes, building leadership skills, enriching subject knowledge in science, social studies, mathematics, and language, addressing multilingual and multi-grade classrooms, embracing inclusive education, improving assessment strategies like Blueprint and CCE, conducting action research, promoting awareness on gender, environmental issues, and 21st century skills, understanding and applying educational policies, especially within the context of Meghalaya. 1. Teachers' perception on classroom practices. Table 4.15 shows teachers' perception on classroom practices by lower primary teachers. There are 10 question items where teachers need to respond, and for our case, we will consider only the highest and lowest means and their corresponding standard deviations. Question item 6, regarding teachers considering students as empty vessels, has the low mean of 2.5, indicating a low level of agreement. This suggests that most teachers do not hold the traditional view that students are passive recipients of knowledge. The high standard deviation of 1.28 implies considerable variability in responses. Some teachers may still follow this outdated belief, while others completely reject it. Question item 10, which states that classrooms must be child-friendly, has the high mean of 4.77, indicating very high agreement among teachers on creating safe and supportive learning environments. The low standard deviation of 0.50 shows strong consistency, indicating a shared belief across the sample. Lower primary teachers recorded an overall mean score of 3.56, indicating they agreed with most statements, and they strongly believed that classrooms should be child-friendly, participative, and free from fear or anxiety. Similarly, Table 4.16 shows teachers' perceptions of classroom practices by upper primary teachers. The low mean of 2.64 for question item 6 reflects low agreement with the empty vessels notion, and the high standard deviation of 1.32 indicates diverse perceptions. Most teachers do not see students as passive recipients. Question item 7, which states that students' involvement is necessary for learning, has the high mean of 4.73, showing very high agreement and strong consensus. The low standard deviation of 0.46 reflects consistent belief in the value of active learning approaches. Upper primary teachers showed an even stronger agreement, with an overall mean of 4.02. This suggests that, overall, teachers had positive perceptions toward progressive and inclusive classroom practices. 2. Classroom transaction.
Next, we explored classroom transactions, that is, how teaching happens in real time.
Table 4.17 shows classroom transactions by lower primary teachers. For question item 3, which deals with adopting various teaching methods, the mean is 4.57, with a standard deviation of 0.62. This indicates that most teachers actively use diverse teaching methods with low variability in response, suggesting broad and consistent use of diverse methods. Question item 6, which states that teachers use only ready-made instructional tools, has a mean of 2.83 and a standard deviation of 1.34. This reflects moderate disagreement, suggesting that many teachers use custom-made or interactive tools, but high variability suggests some teachers still rely heavily on such tools. The consistency in responses indicates a shift toward more interactive teaching practices. Lower primary teachers had an overall mean score of 4.12. Table 4.18 shows classroom transactions by upper primary teachers. Question item 2, which concerns motivating students during teaching learning processes, has the high mean of 4.60 and a standard deviation of 0.61. This reflects strong motivational practices, widely accepted practices with low variation. Question item 6, on using only ready-made instructional tools, has a mean of 2.80 and a high standard deviation of 1.27, indicating moderate disagreement. This reflects divergent teaching resource use, but with considerable variation, possibly due to differences in resource availability or training. Upper primary teachers had an overall mean score of 4.09. This shows that both groups agree that classroom interaction is dynamic. Teachers adapt lessons to meet students' needs, prepare teaching plans, and use both traditional and low-cost teaching materials. However, many were neutral on the use of only traditional tools like chalk and blackboard. 3. Classroom organization. Table 4.19 shows classroom organization by lower primary teachers. Question item 2, which involves providing group and individual learning opportunities, has the high mean of 4.74 and a standard deviation of 0.44, indicating strong and consistent promotion of collaborative and inclusive learning. Question item 5, which states that classrooms are spacious enough for student participation, has the low mean of 3.90 and a standard deviation of 1.12. This suggests moderate agreement but high variability, indicating infrastructure differences across schools. Lower primary teachers recorded an overall mean score of 4.39. Table 4.20 shows classroom organisation by upper primary teachers. Question item 1, concerning child-centred classrooms, has the low mean of 3.72 and a standard deviation of 1.00, pointing to moderate support or varying implementation of student-centred approaches but divergent classroom cultures. Question item 2, on providing group and individual opportunities to students, has the high mean of 4.75 and a standard deviation of 0.44, reflecting strong consensus on providing group work opportunities and implementation of collaborative learning. Upper primary teachers showed an overall mean of 4.38. Both lower and upper primary teachers scored a high means, suggesting a strong agreement. This shows that teachers value collaboration, student participation, and learning through group work. They also encourage hands-on learning both inside and outside the classroom. 4. Classroom assessment. Table 4.21 shows classroom assessment by lower primary teachers. Question item 2, on evaluating students' progress for grading, has a mean of 4.02 and a standard deviation of 0.89. This suggests that grading is common but not uniformly practiced, though variability indicates differences in assessment practices. Question item 5, on continuous assessment during teaching, has the high mean of 4.49 and a standard deviation of 0.68, indicating that formative assessment is widely and consistently practiced. Lower primary teachers had an overall mean score of 4.32. Table 4.22 shows classroom assessment by upper primary teachers. Question item 3, on sharing students' academic progress with parents, has a mean of 4.15 and a standard deviation of 0.78, showing teachers value parental involvement, though practices vary. Question item 6, on using assessment to identify strengths and gaps, has a mean of 4.50 and a standard deviation of 0.58, reflecting widespread understanding and consistent application of assessment for instructional improvement. Upper primary teachers had an overall mean score of 4.31. In classroom assessment, both groups, that is, lower and upper primary teachers, again showed strong agreement. This shows that teachers consistently assess learning, provide feedback, and share progress with parents, showing a commitment to formative assessment practices. Capacity development needs.
Finally, we examined what capacity development areas teachers felt they needed the most.
Table 4.23 presents the responses of lower primary teachers regarding their opinions on the capacity development needs to ensure continuous professional development. These were arranged in decreasing order of their mean scores for easier interpretation of the data. For question item 1, on developing and using teaching aids or teaching learning materials in classroom transactions, the mean is 4.39 and the standard deviation is 0.65, indicating that teachers strongly feel the need for skill development in this area, especially in creating and using effective teaching aids. For question item 19, on sensitizing teachers to gender issues, the mean is 3.45 and the standard deviation is 1.27, showing inconsistent awareness and sensitivity. Lower primary teachers rated their needs with an overall mean of 4.00, which can be interpreted as very important. This reflects a generally high perceived need for professional growth. This graph represents the capacity development needs of lower primary teachers, arranged in decreasing order with the corresponding means. Similarly, Table 4.24 presents the responses of upper primary teachers, also arranged in decreasing order of their mean scores for easier interpretation of the data. In the case of upper primary teachers, question item 1 on developing and using teaching aids or teaching learning materials in classroom transactions has a mean of 4.30 and a standard deviation of 0.80, indicating a high need for TLM-related capacity building. Question item 19 on methodology for conducting school action research has a mean of 3.48 and a standard deviation of 1.10, reflecting interest but uneven readiness. Some teachers feel confident, while others require more support. Upper primary teachers had an overall mean of 3.94, which can also be interpreted as very important. This indicates a high perceived need for professional growth. This graph represents the capacity development needs of upper primary teachers, arranged in decreasing order with the corresponding means. Overall, the mean scores across most variables for both lower and upper primary teachers suggest a strong inclination towards child-centered, participatory, and reflective teaching practices. The standard deviation values reveal greater inconsistency in certain areas like gender sensitization, use of ready-made tools, action research, etc., indicating unequal access or disparities to training or experience. These findings help in identifying priority areas for capacity development programs tailored to teachers' real needs. Comparative findings. This table 4.25 shows a comparison of the top 10 capacity development needs, which were arranged according to their merits, with classroom practices in parenthesis for in-service teachers of both lower primary and upper primary classes. Top priorities included training in the use of teaching learning materials, environmental education, integration of core subject skills, and leadership development. Links for download of abstract and other important information are in the description box. Interestingly, both lower and upper primary teachers shared similar development needs, particularly in classroom transaction strategies and subject enrichment. However, lower primary teachers emphasized inclusive classrooms and leadership, while upper primary teachers focused more on integrating 21st century skills and core subjects. In conclusion, the data reveals that teachers across the district are committed to professional growth, student-centered learning, and continuous improvement of their teaching practices. These findings provide a clear roadmap for targeted trainings and policy support in the education system. Key findings. The study revealed several critical insights. Many teachers still rely on traditional teaching tools like chalk and blackboards, while others show a growing interest in student-centered learning, group activities, and continuous assessment methods. The data also showed a high demand for training in areas such as use of teaching aids and learning materials, digital and ICT skills, integration of life skills, values, and the arts into education, teaching in inclusive, multilingual, and multi-grade classroom, environmental education and gender sensitivity, recommendations. Based on these findings, the study recommends that future training programs should be hands-on and activity-based, promote child-centered pedagogy, address both pedagogical and psychosocial skills, be inclusive and accessible to all in-service teachers annually. Such trainings will not only build teacher confidence, but also positively impact student outcomes. Conclusion.
To enhance student learning, a comprehensive approach to teacher capacity development is vital.
This includes ongoing professional development, school leadership support, and a culture that values continuous learning. Teachers must update and refine their skills to meet 21st century educational demands. Continuous professional development is the key to ensuring quality teaching and effective learning environments. Finally, under the influence of NEP 2020. The government, through institutions like DIETs, must provide need-based training programs. This empowers teachers to build on past experiences, enhance their pedagogy, and ensure quality education for every child. The success of this study was made possible through the leadership of Dr. Srimati D.B. Pirbot, the guidance of Sri B. Lingdo, and the dedicated efforts of the research team and field investigators. We extend our deepest gratitude to the heads of school, the teachers, and all those who participated and contribute their time and insight to the success of this study.
In closing, the study reminds us that the journey to quality education begins with empowered teachers.
By identifying and addressing their professional development needs, we ensure a stronger foundation for every child's learning journey.
This video is prepared by Sri B.L. Nongbsap, Diet Thadlaskein. Once again, make sure to share, like and subscribe and give your valuable positive feedback and comments. Thank you.